How my understanding and views on childhood and children's rights have developed in the last 8 weeks through readings, learnings and discussion. Prior to this module, my understanding of childhood and children's rights was very weak, and as I had failed to understand the extent to which children are capable of advocating their voices through their rights, my perspective on childhood was that childhood was the time for children to play, enjoy, have fun and build relationships, grow confidence with great freedom, as children are innocent souls that fill our lives with laughter and joy, as childhood is what nurtures children into adulthood. My understanding on childhood has vaguely changed in the last 7 weeks, as I still believe childhood is defined through history, culture, religion, relations, and the social economy. Hence, being a social construct where children's childhood is structured by the norms and values of the society. As WAG states, childhood is socially constructed. It is, in other words, what members of particular societies at particular times in particular places say it is. There is no universal childhood experienced by all. However, after embarking on a journey of the last 7 weeks during discovering children's rights and their meaning and the importance in a child's everyday life, my understanding of children's rights have changed. My understanding of childhood now is that different societies understand childhood in different ways, which leads to adults having to see children in terms of how they are treated and what they are capable of achieving, as at first children were utilised as a way of understanding the primitives, but now the society has recognised the focus on child rearing practices and the process by which children become fully socialised human beings, as suggested by Montgomery. Childhood is a process where children are nurtured into adult. Childhood participates in a social culture where children are known as a minority and have lower status, gradually building into adults where power relationships and forces structural disadvantages. The UNCRC recognises that children in different environments and cultures with different life experiences will acquire competencies at different ages, and this process will vary according to circumstances. Children do not acquire competencies merely as a consequence of age, but rather through experience, culture, and levels of parental support and expectation, as suggested by O'Neill. The UNCRC recognises children as active agents in their own lives, entitled to be listened to, respected and granted increasing autonomy in their exercise of rights, while also being entitled to protection in accordance with their relative immaturity and youth. Montgomery suggests that children exist within a separate subculture and have their own ways of thinking, their own worldviews, and their own cultural understanding in the form of games and rhymes. Montgomery also suggests that children are more able than we think they are. This was shown through one of my readings by Alderson, young children as people, where it showed 4 case studies of children suggesting how children by the age of 5 have a clear understanding of self and others. All 4 case studies shows how children by the age of 5 are independent, hardworking, courageous, motivated. They are seen as full people and consulted as equal workers in countries where many children work and there are no laws. One of the case studies, Water in the Village, showed how 600 children attended school to become health educators for their village. It suggested how children raised their voices and opinions and concerns regarding their main water supply, which was used by people as well as animals. They raised these concerns with their village head. As a result, children and adults work together to clean the pond, build a fence, and maintain the supply of clean water. These case studies reflect on how children have their own ways of thinking, their own views and cultural understandings in the form of games and rhymes, as they had raised their concerns with the village head through presenting poems and dramas about the value of clean water. This also suggests Marx's theory, as he states children are seen as future citizens and not actually seen as actual citizens, as he focuses on education of children rather than their role in society. The case study also suggests that children are more able than we think of them to be. In relation to the article Water in the Village to children's rights, it suggests that children's education is important as it develops their abilities, capacities, talents and personality. As Article 29 states, children's education should develop each child's personality, talents and abilities to the fullest. It should encourage children to respect others' human rights and their own and other cultures. It should also help them to live peacefully, protect the environment and respect other people. Also, during my 7 weeks of exploring childhood and children's rights, I have come across a research finding by Mayal which has surprised me, as it states the social status of childhood from a group of 57 children's perspective. One of the finding was moral status. Children find that their moral status is dubious in the eyes of adults. Children are often not believed and wrongly blamed and not always accorded respect for their moral competence in relation to children's rights. The UNCRC states under the Article 12 to respect the views of child as they have the right to say. However, the article suggests that children's views are still not being heard and are not given importance to, and wrongly accused and not given the chance to have their say. I agree with one of the points made during the discussion regarding regarding why children have no rights, since the part of legislation in Parliament shows that children's interests are perfectly safe in the hands of adults as they are not capable of contributing. I do not support this point, as after reading an article by Groscott, What Makes the City Good for Children, it has forced me to acknowledge the rights of children. Children are entitled to freedom, to be happy, to enjoy and to be safe. The few outcomes suggested by the Every Child Matters. However, according to the article, it is right for the parents to decide where their children should live and grow up. Children are forced to leave their friends and family, school and move to a new area as it is in their best interest, according to the parents. Relating this to children's rights, from what I have learned through this module, I believe children should be given the rights, as the UNCRC states. Whenever decisions are taken that affect children's lives, the impact of those decisions must be assessed to ensure that their best interests of children are the main consideration, also suggested by O'Neill. Although there are many points that I disagree with, on the other hand, there are also points that I agree with. For example, I agree with the fact that determining child development through a linear process is inadequate to reflect the complexities and realities of children's acquisition of competencies, although childhood is a large concept, a social rather than a biological construct. This was shown through Jerison as he completed a case study on young children and a naughty teddy. The test was devised by Piaget, replicated around the world, in which children tended to vary their answers. When asked the same question several times. However, when the questions were asked through a teddy, the children laughed at the repetition and repeated their original answers. This showed that children were not intimidated by the naughty teddy and did not feel the need to be polite or pretend not to notice that the teddy was repeating the same questions every time. However, when the same questions were asked by the researchers, children changed their answers each time to be helpful, as they thought the researcher wanted different answers. This shows and suggests that children are not inconsistent and confused, but are capable. Therefore, it is important to recognize that it is not the respect for rights as such that is influenced by the evolving capacities of children. However, all the rights in the UNCRC extend to all children, irrespective of their capacity, suggested by Jerison. However, I still fail to understand that the extent of children's rights being implemented, as I feel as though children's voices are yet not being heard. Children need to be more educated regarding their rights. This will only allow a better childhood for them. But they are not oppressed by the society, but given freedom of choice, as children have the right to relax and enjoy and play, and to join in a wide range of cultural, artistic and other recreational activities, as stated in Article 42 of the UNCRC. Government should make the convention known to adults and children. Adults should help children learn about the rights too, as governments have a responsibility and to take all available measures to make sure children's rights are respected, protected and fulfilled.